Who's buzzing for the deck profile? So I'm just going to start off with the monsters. So we play 3 copies of Beetrooper-Battlewasp. This card is really cool, so you just summon it and then you summon another copy of itself, so it's like an instant rank 3. That is really relevant because there is a very cool interaction that you can do by making Cicada King really early in the combos, and it lets you like play through hand traps a little better. Like in my test hand video, I actually said that I thought that this was one of the worst normal summons in the deck. I've changed my mind since that, and I am going to show you like just very quickly sort of like the interaction. So like for instance, you'll summon Escape Boogie and then you'll drop this guy and then you'll summon another one. And then with an extender, which is either one of these 2 cards. So like if it was this, like you would have summoned this first, or if it was this, then you get to summon this now. And then you'll turn these 2 into Cicada King, which is the rank 3 monster. And then what you can do is you can use this to, you can use the effect of this to negate, to inflict damage, and then you can use this to negate that effect. And then this turns itself to defense, and then this card like will summon either an insect monster from your hand or the grave. So what is really sick about this is that this is essentially another armor horn. So if that effect goes through, which it probably shouldn't, if your opponent does have a hand trap, they should probably negate that, because so say for instance, you got this guy in your hand, or you've got this guy in your hand, or you've got this guy in your hand. Like you can like just summon any one of these now. And then you just get to summon it, and then you get to like link whichever one you summoned away with this into armor horn, so you get to summon again. So yeah, it basically gives you almost like 3 normal summons in a turn rather than just the 2 with the armor horn. And that is something that you do want to do if you open with it, and if your hand's like viable to like abuse that. Because it, like just being able to play through that, just one more impermanence or that one Veiler, that can be the difference between you making like a board and not being able to make a board. But yeah, so like 3 Escape Boogie is mandatory. I used to play it 2, I'm just absolutely set on 3 now. So now we play 3 copies of Sting Lancer. This is actually like my favourite Beetrooper monster. The reason is because you will use this one every turn, every game basically, whether you're searching off it or not, you will just summon this card. So what's really cool is that if you open with this card, this is another card that helps you play through hand traps. So if you use like summon like Escape Boogie or something like that, for instance, you get ashed, you can then like drop something like Pin the Bullseye, you can make an armor horn, and then you can just like summon this from your hand and search the game's trap. And then like that's just enough for this card to just like be amazing. You can like link it away. What's really cool, if your opponent does hand trap you when you go first and you're able to summon this, is it means you can be a little bit more flexible with your Atlas summon. So you can either get Escape Boogie off your Atlas, or you can get Scale Bomber, which is like a Ghost Ogre on the field. So yeah, it's really cool. And then we play 3 copies of Scale Bomber. This card is it's probably like the second best Beetrooper next to this one. Just because this one like doesn't require normal summon. Like I really do prefer the extending cards in this deck to the actual like, normal summons, because all of the extenders just work with Resonance Insect. Resonance Insect is like the best card in the deck. It's the most abusable card in the deck, so you really do want to focus on that card, and this card works with Resonance Insect. What's really cool about this as well is that you can actually like normal summon this, like going second. You can activate the effect of like Pin the Bullseye to summon itself. If your opponent then tries to negate this with Appaloosa, for instance, you can actually chain this and then pop the Appaloosa, and then because the Appaloosa was destroyed and they can't lower its attack, the effect doesn't resolve. So you still get to summon this, and it just means that this is like a clean 8 to Appaloosa. But yeah, and then like just a load of extenders. So we play 3 Primitive Butterfly. Like I said, Primitive Butterfly and Pin the Bullseye are the ones that trigger Cicada King when you go first. So you do like ideally want to see one of these guys, or you want to see Sting to be able to search them, to be able to search Pin even. We've got 3 copies of this dude. This guy is really cool because he's level 3 just like Scale Bomber, so he actually gets to make Cicada King in hands that don't have Escape Boogie in them. This card also just randomly attacks directly for some reason, so he can help close games. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's just very sensible in this deck to play to like max on your extending cards, because a lot of your combos are going to be like 2.5 combo, like card combos, or so there are even some like 3.5 card combos, or even like 3 card combos. So like the more extenders you have, the better you're going to do through hand traps. And then we've got 3 copies of Sting, which is just like a Stratos for Battlewasps, and then he also says that you can treat an insect to negate a monster as a quick effect. This card's really cool. It's basically on all your end boards, and it searches you a follow-up as well, which is pretty good. Something that you can search is this card, but I feel like this card is a little bit of a noob trap to people that like sort of first pick up the deck. So what a lot of people do is they'll open like Sting and then they'll have an extender, and then what they'll do is they'll normal summon Sting and then they'll search this guy, and then they'll drop their extender and then make Armor Horn. The problem with doing that is Armor Horn is very, very, very clearly a choke point to anyone that reads it. So if your Armor Horn, they get stopped. If you and you're stuck with this in your hand, your turn basically ends. What I do recommend doing is only searching this if you have like this plus like another extender, because then that means that you're going to summon this and then you'll search this guy. Well, you're going to summon this one first, and then you'll search this to summon this guy, to search this guy. You'll then go into Armor Horn. If your Armor Horn then gets negated, you can then drop this to carry on playing, because you only need Armor Horn and an insect to carry on playing in this deck. But this card is mainly here as a follow-up, not like a combo extender. So yeah. Next we've got the 3 copies of Resonance Insect, which is the best card in the deck. It's essentially Insect Ben 10. You can trigger this card up to 4 times in a single turn, depending on what your hand is. But yeah, this card's absolutely cracked. And then we got the 1 copy Goki Ball. This is just to go with the Resonance Insect. I don't mind this card as a starter card at all, but what the problem with like playing like multiples of this card is that you never actually have to open it to resolve it. So you just don't need to open this card, so you can just play one. But yeah, we play the 1 copy of Doomdozer, which is like part of like the Resonance package essentially. So Resonance plus any extender is like a full combo because of this card. So if you are playing 3 Resonance Insects, which I absolutely do advise, then you definitely play Doomdozer. And then we play 3 copies of Retaliating Sea. This is something that a lot of people probably dislike. I really love this card because I feel like that when you're playing like a road deck like this, you should try and heighten your luck by just stealing games with cards like this. And I'm just going to give you a very brief list off the top of my head of like the decks and the cards that play into this. So Droitron will always trigger this, whether it be off Nova or Meteonis. VW trigger this with Kowloon and E-Tele. Dragon Link triggers this with Quick Launch or World Legacy Guard Dragon. Prankids trigger this with any of their fusion spells. Invocation trigger it, Invoke triggers it with Invocation or like Shadar Fusion or All Shadar Fusion or whatever. So yeah, so this card's like really cool. I feel like when like I said, you should just be playing like, because this card is a blowout when you resolve it. And it's not even a bad card just to open with when your opponent isn't triggering it either, because this is like a normal summon. So I think you should definitely be playing 3 Retaliating Sea. We play 1 copy Contact Sea. The reason why I'm not playing multiples of this one, like for the same reasons I just explained for Retaliating, is that this one is high risk. So you can't just freely give this to any opponent. And it won't shut every opponent down. There are very, very specific choke points in each deck where you need to drop this card for it to be viable, and those choke points might not come up, so you can't play multiples of this card. But definitely side the other 2 because it is broken in the matchups it's good in. Prankids can't look. Prankids between these 2, they're just not going to win the game, are they? This card's pretty good against Sky Striker. When they make Shizuku, you can just give it to them in their end phase, and then that way they're either forced into making Zeke, or they don't get the Shizuku search, or if they choose to get the Shizuku search, it turns off all their back row. So yeah, there is another Tri-Brigade obviously as well, with the Zodiacs especially. This card like nails them. And then the sort of like going second package that I've gone with, like this is the only thing in the deck that I'm really unsure about, because like this deck is still pretty new. I haven't like played like a million games with it to know that like whether this is correct or not. But it feels okay. So we've got Godala, we've got Kumungus, we've got the 3rd Kaiju. This doesn't have to be Doggeran. In fact, I think Gameciel is probably a little bit more sensible. The reason why I'm using Doggeran at the minute though is because this card plus access code is over 8,000. And then play 2 copies of Slumber. The main purpose of these cards is to blow the back out of Appaloosa, because that card can be like detrimental. It can absolutely ruin your game. And yeah, so also like, these are insects, so going second, like this becomes an extender for some reason. This card going first is also fine because you can discard this off Pico for later, and then it's like something for next turn to activate. In this deck, like this is probably the single best card that you can discard off Pico, because discarding Gokipole isn't like ideal because you didn't want to draw Gokipole in the first place. You just want to be really off Resonance Insect. Discarding this card is a little bit greedy because if you get like nibbed, then you just absolutely you are just fucked basically. But yeah, this is like I say, this is something that I'm not too sure about. I really like it in theory. I just need to like play more with this package and see how it goes. And then we got 3 copies of Ready Fusion even. I only managed to pick up 2 copies, so I'm just proxying one with an Instant Fusion at the minute. But yeah, so there is an Insect Ready Fusion target. Unfortunately, it is quite expensive, and so is this card, I guess. So if you're like looking to pick this deck up as like just a budget deck or just like a fun deck that you're going to play at locals, you can absolutely just cut this card if you want to, because do you really want to spend what these are like £30 each? The rare fusion monster is like 25 each if you're lucky, and if you want the fusion in super, then they're more like 75s to 90s, I think. But yeah, this card like opens up cross sheep combos in the deck. You've got Retaliating Sea and you've got Resonance Insect that are not hard once per turn, so like it's sort of like clear how you abuse those cards with cross sheep. But yeah, I think it's like, I feel like this card is like the single best extender in the deck, just because it can like it opens up so much sort of like chaos. And then we've got the last 2 cards, which are just one each of the Beetrooper Spell or Trap. So I feel like this card is kind of noob trappy. I feel like at the minute, well, we've only got Skate Buggy and Scale Bomber, which are like really easy to drop. I don't think that's enough monsters for you to want to play in this card, because when you don't see either of those cards, you're essentially banking on your Armor Horn to resolve to be able to extend, for you to like revive the Armor Lance, the Armor Horn off this. I just don't think that's amazing to be like doing that. What is really cool about this card though is if you already open this, obviously you just get to search this and this will do something. And this card is just like an excellent follow-up to search on your opponent's turn when you drop your Sting Lancer. What is really cool about this as well is, and if you do want to play multiple copies of this, is that Slumber actually triggers the effect to spawn a token if you pop your own monster with this. So for instance, you can like summon like a Gokipole or Resonance Insect, activate your field spell, and then you can slumber yourself, and then you'll get a Kaiju and you'll get a token. And that makes Armor Horn, so you just get to like continue playing from there. For the extra deck, we play 2 copies of Atlas. I was initially playing 3 because I thought that this deck locked you into insects a little bit more than it actually does. And when I realised that I can actually make access code quite often, I just cut one of these for the access code. You can absolutely play 3 of this though if you want to, or you can like cut one for a Bolsaur or something like that. But yeah, so we play Atlas, we play Armor Horn. Armor Horn is absolutely incredible. I would vouch, or dare to say this is like one of the, well, it's not really saying much, but like this is probably like one of the top 5 insect cards in the game, excluding like Maxi obviously. But yeah, this card's absolutely incredible. That card could not be better if they tried. 2 copies of Pico. I was initially playing 3, like I said, until I realised that you're not locked into insects as much as you actually are. You will always summon one of these for going first, and then you'll want one for your 3rd turn as well, because this card can then like search you with like it can essentially search you like Doom Dozers and stuff like that, which helps you put damage on the board to win the game. We play one of this guy. This guy does not come up a lot. I feel like this card is actually like quite cuttable, but I don't want to say not to play this card, because this card is something that you can use to like play through Nibiru's and stuff like that, because you can make this with the token. But yeah, like this card could, like if you wanted to cut any card from this deck, this is the first one. And then we play this card. This card is like, I love this card. It's essentially like the Selene, the Link 3 Spellcaster monster. So on its summon, it just gains counters equal to the amount of insects used for its summon, so it's typically 2. And then as a quick effect, you can remove a counter to revive a level 4 or lower insect monster. So this card lets you revive Sting the Poison on your opponent's turn, which is probably like the best interaction that you're going to get. And then this, on its summon, you're going to go and search for your follow-up. And then this can actually tribute any insect except for itself, so you can actually tribute this to negate something. But yeah, you usually end up with like a little bit more than just this on the field, so you'll have an option of what you want to tribute. But yeah. And then for the rest of the extra deck, so we play access code just to close games. It is like important to note as well that this deck doesn't have an awful lot of removal in the main deck. So this card is like, even if you're not summoning this card to go for game, you can still summon this card to try and clear the board up a little bit. Play 1 copy of Akashic Magician. This card's like pretty experimental at the minute. Just what is really cool is that you're playing Kaijus and you're playing Contacts here as well, so like you can use this to sort of bounce those cards back and sort of like keep using them on your opponent. And then we play Nightmare Phoenix just because there actually isn't a single spell or trap out in the main deck, and I wanted one, so you have to play Phoenix. We play Cross Sheep, which I'm absolutely ashamed that I just don't own this card. I don't know how I don't own one. I'm sure I did, I just couldn't find it anywhere. But yeah, this card's like pretty cool with like Ready Fusion to be able to revive stuff like Resonance Insect and whatnot. What is also really cool is that with Ready Fusion and like Cross Sheep, what you can actually do is like you can use three insect monsters to make Pico. You can use 2 insect monsters to make Pico, target a 3rd insect and equip Resonance, and then you can link the Pico and the Resonance away. You can link the Pico and the 3rd insect away into Cross Sheep, your Resonance triggers, and then you get to use this to revolve the Resonance. So you don't necessarily need to open Resonance with Cross Sheep to resolve Resonance twice. So Cross Sheep's really good. You got the the Ready Fusion target just for the Cross Sheep combos, and like this is just this is basically just the same as every single other extender in the deck, which is pretty important. And then we just got 1 Cicada King. This could potentially go to 2 because I'm always trying to make this card just as a combo sort of starter. So not necessarily just for the negate effect. So what you could actually do if you play 2 is you could use this as a combo starter. You could then link this away, and then like later in the turn you could like Atlas for like Skate Boogie to like make another one to pass on. But yeah, like if this keeps coming up like as a 2-of, then I'll definitely try and fit in a second. But yeah, that is the main and extra deck. I don't really have like a side deck built for it. I just want to say play 3 copies of Contact C. You're probably going to want to side Drolls for the Drytrons, the Agnisters, the Dragon decks. Nibiru is probably like a really good side deck card in this deck. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to check out our affiliate link, TCG Access. The link will be in the description below. So yeah, thank you for watching.